And I don't know if the process is the same, but basically, you would be invited, we were invited to come in and write in the Star Wars universe by our publishers. And at that point, it was a free-for-all. You know, they said, okay, at least with me, come up with an idea, write up a proposal, and we'll run the proposal through. Then you write the book, and once you write the book, then we take it through editing with the editors and publisher. Then it went to Lucasfilm and got its stamp of approval there, and that was really the process. If you needed to do a rewrite in between, you know, you could do that in between, but it was a pretty straightforward process. Very, very easy to work with. I mean, I've worked on other projects, and it's been quite as easy as working with Lucasfilm, or quite as enjoyable, frankly.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They would send us like a sheet of 20 points, or change this, or and they actually listened. If I contradicted them, I would point out, yes, but here's my reference for it, and they always backed down if I actually had a reference for something. So, but they were. Let's not tell stories about some of the other things that we've worked on that weren't quite as simple.
I mean, toward that end, just the first meeting that I had with Lucasfilm before I started working on, started writing the first book, and I said, look, if you want, I can actually footnote these books. And so I footnoted the books with either references, or they were footnotes where I would say, look, I'm inventing this. So there's no reference for it. What I need out of it is this. You know, this is the narrative reason that I'm doing this. So if you can't give me everything I've got there, at least give me this to hang the story on. And again, they never said no to any of those.
Okay, right here.
Hi, I am one of the 30-somethings that you spoke of that kind of grew up with the Star Wars books, and sometimes it's kind of frustrating to come across other Star Wars fans who are not into the book universe. But my question for you is, you talked about how these characters do not belong to you. Tell us a little bit about the challenges of writing and being true to these characters, but at the same time allowing them to develop and have these alternate adventures.
I'll take that one. I mean, for one thing, it was actually pretty easy to write in the Star Wars universe compared to creating your own universe, because I had watched the movies and enjoyed them, and so I knew who the characters were to a great degree. But then when you start creating sort of alternate psychology, for example, with the courtship of Princess Leia, I had been watching my children and noticed how when they were being bullied in school or something like that, you'd see how they kind of regressed. And I got to thinking about that in relationship to adults, and I started noticing that adults kind of regress and stuff too. And so I have an opening of Courtship with Princess Leia that Han Solo's kind of going through a rough time, and he's depressed, and he's a little bit back to the drug dealing days that he was almost, you know, when movies started. And I had some fans who were like, "Oh no, Han Solo would never do that," and I go, "But he did that at one point in his life." And so I got a little bit of feedback from fans on that, but on the other hand, I got fan mail from George Lucas, so
that trumps everything
that
else.
trumped it, yeah. Made me feel okay. So there are some difficulties when you start trying to imagine different scenarios with the characters, or to show how they might have changed over time or something like that. That's the biggest problem that you get with working with those characters, because their voices and everything, you know, they're like in my head. You know, I can practically write them in my sleep.
I think what David's saying is absolutely true. And it's not so much all of us as readers progress in our understanding of human beings. This is why we can go back and read a book every 4 years and find other nuances in it. It's not because the book has changed, it's because we've changed. So a lot of times things you have to learn to deal with as a writer, that every reader's gonna have a different reaction, and you can't have the Chicken Little effect of saying, oh my God, the sky is falling, this person thinks I didn't get it right, you know, because ultimately it all evens out.
Well, I thought you were very true to the well-developed character of Wedge Antilles in the films.
Very hard on that, yeah.
Every line that came out of his mouth was so, yeah.
So, let me do a quick one on that. One of the harder parts for us, though, is not the existing character. I mean, Luke and Han and Leia, there's a pretty good baseline on those. One of the more challenging things at least for me as a writer, is the characters that we actually created, that then other people borrowed those toys and played with them, and sometimes played roughly with them. Like Kip Duron, or I spent 14 books with Jason and Jaina Solo in the Young Jedi Knights books, and then knowing what happened to them later on, I'm like, oh boy, they didn't grow up well. I raised them right. But they're not my characters. They're Lucasfilms.
Over here.
Hi, first of all, my friend over there, she is too shy to mention this, but as a word of encouragement or warning or something like that, she says, George Lucas isn't in charge anymore about the Feral Ewoks thing.
I don't think Disney would go for something like that.
Well, keep on holding out hope. I mean, they went with Frozen. Idina Menzel is now like a major Disney character. That's a possibility. That's not the question.
Maybe that's what episode 7 is going to be, is the origin of the Ewoks.
I'm hoping that they blow up my planet Dathomir. You know, it's going to be the good guys saying we got to take out these evil, Night Sisters, and let's just blow up the entire planet.
Sorry, I just had a horrible idea. Episode 7 on ice.
How would they do the destruction of the Falcapades?
There you go.
But she does have a question.
Sorry, that's sidetracked by all this awesome dialogue. Anyway, so I'm a fanfic writer. I really admit it to it. I had a project I worked on with Trey Stokes. I don't know if anyone watches Pink 5, but at one point he told me, you cannot write this in front of this story. It's a bad idea, and I'm not going to tell you why for another few years. Have any of you ever had either a story idea that you thought you were going to put into one of the books and decided to shelve because it didn't seem like a good idea, and then in light of later things you were able to say, well, that would have been interesting to take it in that direction?
I think as writers, that happens all the time. That there are ideas that you have that you either realize, the spark of it is brilliant, and you don't have the skills yet to realize it, and therefore you don't tackle it. And then in retrospect, as you grow older, either you get to see what's wrong with it, and you're able to make it work, or you see why it was beyond you and why it's really beyond anybody. I've been going back through old files, looking at stories, and reading through, going, yeah, this story died really about page 15, but I managed to continue to page 25. So this is why that one never worked. So I think that's a fairly common experience.
Yeah, I years ago wanted to write a story about sentient bears, and the idea was that I had a friend when I was growing up who had some pet bears. His dad trained bear hunting dogs, and I just thought they were so cute and they looked so intelligent, and so I wanted to write a story, and it was going to be, sort of about bears discovering wheels, and I thought, no, that's just a dumb idea. And then Terry Bisson wrote a book, or a story called Bears Discover Fire, about a bunch of sentient bears, and there's not much to the story, but it won the Hugo and the Nebula Award, and I'm just I missed that one like that much. And that happens over and over again. We'll get ideas because, I think probably with us here, we probably get 15 or 20 ideas a day, if not more, for stories or novels. And we just, the ones that we think we really like, that we fall in love with, eventually they'll turn up in a book somewhere or a story somewhere. And the ones that we discard, kind of go back out there, and somebody else comes out and does something great with them, and my wife curses at me, and that kind of thing.
I had a really great idea for City on the gas giant Bespin. All the clouds around, and it's a Jupiter-sized planet. And storms start happening in the clouds, and these gigantic ships, like the mothership from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, rise up from beneath the clouds and raise up to the top of the cloud deck, and they destroy Cloud City. And we learned that there is an entire race that lives inside gas giant planets, and they've just declared war on us. I thought that was way too good of an idea to give to Lucasfilm. I thought that was way too good of an idea to give to Lucasfilm, so I wrote it into my own saga of Seven Sons, which has sold 700,000 copies worldwide. So I'm glad I kept that idea.
Yeah, one thing I do want to say on Dave's point about ideas, 2 weeks ago I was at an event and someone asked me to talk to their 14-year-old son who's a writer, and he's just beginning writing, and he was stuck in that syndrome that many beginning writers are of, I have this brilliant idea and I can't tell anybody about it because then I will lose it and it will steal it. It's the only golden idea that I will ever have. And I said, look, I said, every writer I've ever talked to gets tons of ideas. I said, if you can't do anything with that golden idea you've got, come to my house, I will give you a bushel basket worth of other ideas. Play with those. It's not, it's not getting the ideas, it's actually being able to do something with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over here. My name is Eric. I just have to add something to what Dave said. So the evolution of your barriers is that setting environment's head. Just have to throw that out there.
Pardon me?
I said the evolution of your bear idea is Seth MacFarlane's head.
Yeah, I actually went and took my bear and put it into my book, the Golden Queen series. I have a genetically engineered bear that wants to be a priest, as one of my main characters. I have a lot of fun with it.
My question is, it kind of falls in line with the last question, but is there a character, doesn't necessarily have to be one of your own, that came from the expanded universe that you created or saw somebody else's work that you thought, man, I could take this character and run with it, and just thought you could do your own series?
Characters are like ideas, though. I mean, I'll come up with another one, or I'll do something else with them, and I don't know. They're like friends and people that you meet, and sometimes you spend time with them and you have fun, and sometimes they're just jerks and you don't want to be around them anymore.
I think though that I don't want to talk about the ones that I want to use, but there's a couple of characters, a couple of ideas that I've seen from the expanded universe where I go, ooh, that would be cool, and I could go put it in a completely different novel and sort of erase some of the lines on it, and it would work just fine.
I mean, I think, for me, I got real lucky. Got to do a lot with Corn Horn and his development. And then out of the Dark Tide books, there was another Jedi character, Canner. And I know he get killed off later on in the series, but I always viewed him as someone that I really, as a character that I get to grow a little bit in those 2 books. And I would have loved to have gone on and do a lot more because he was just a lot of fun.
Okay, over here.
What are the best and worst parts of working in a shared universe where there's so many people writing things versus working in your own sandbox where you get to make all the decisions?
Well, okay, real simply, when you're working in your own universe, or when you're working in someone else's universe, you have to put up with all the stupid things that other people have done that you have to fix. When you're working in your own universe, you have to put up with all the stupid things other people have done, but that's you. It's the same deal. Sometimes with someone else's universe, there's a lot more material that you've got to capture and handle. And I trained as a historian. My degree's in history, so this was pretty much like learning the history of another whole universe. So it's not really writing science fiction; it's writing historical novels set in the Star Wars universe, and you have to have that same sort of command of what's going on if you're going to make things right. Because I hate to say it, you guys may not realize this, but you, the fans, know everything. And if we get anything wrong, you're very vocal and expressive.
Yeah, I find it kind of exciting in certain ways. When I began looking at researching Star Wars novels, and I did a number of things with the young adult and middle grade books. Excuse me. But I did a number of things. But one of the great things about it was something, and so that was a blast. And that's the strength of it, and once again, it's also the weakness, because if you see one that you really hate, and you're just going, oh, what a dumb throwaway species, you know, you may have to put them into your book at some point or another. So you have to take the bad with the good.
But Jar Jar hasn't been created yet.
No, Jar Jar hadn't been created yet. I always thought
He was bred to be cute.
And I have to say, I disagree with Kevin. I happen to love Ewoks barbecue.
Yeah, barbecue. That's the best way to have it. I think what you also have to remember with the fans going over the details, me and Dave and Mike all had it way easier than people do now, because when I started, I had basically Tim's books to look at, and I was talking to Tim when I was writing them. Now there's this gigantic mountain of other books, not to mention all of the Clone War cartoons. There's a lot of contradictions in those. And the fans will scream because some little detail over the course of a 6,000-year history got either doesn't quite fit or it mixed up. And I gotta tell you, watch the news. We can't even get our facts straight in what's happening right now. I mean, there are complete, if you listen to what Vladimir Putin says is going on in Ukraine, you listen to what other people say is going on in Ukraine, that's totally contradictory. And maybe fans are writing him nasty letters. I don't know.
Dear Mr. Putin, please get your continuity straight. You've done such and such a day, you missed this. Yeah.
Get over here. To Kevin, the first novel I ever read was the third grade. It was Dark Apprentice. And at that point, I had no idea most of the way through before I realized it was the second book in a trilogy. But it really, I still loved it. It really inspired a lifelong love of learning. So thank you for that and reading. And my question though is to all three of you. I'm just curious to hear about what you're currently working on or what you're hoping to come out with soon, whether it be books or meetings or anything like that.
Okay, I'm working on the last book in the Rue Lawrence series. I plan to have it done within the next 3 or 4 weeks. And then I've got my Nightingale series, which is a young adult fantasy thriller, and I'm going to write the next 3 weeks in that. And I'm working on a big thriller novel. So those are just some of the projects that I'm doing.
I've got a really fun, humorous series that stars Dan Shamble, zombie PI. He's a zombie and he's a detective, and he solves crimes with werewolves and ghosts and mummies, and I have a real blast with that. I just came out with a book called The Dragon Business about medieval con men selling their services as dragon slayers, even though there's no dragon. They'll like leave footprints around and burn down a couple of peasant houses and say, hey, you've got a dragon problem, we'll take care of that for you. So those are a lot of fun. We're doing a lot of publishing. I run a whole publishing company, and we have a bunch of books on display. In fact, Dave and I are at the same table at 1628, so stop by and we'll see all the stuff. Mike could tell you about his books when he's sold out of all of them.
Well, except the ones I bought off of you.
Yes.
And the ones I bought off of Bryan. So I restocked while I was here. It's, I just finished a Pathfinder novel for Paizo Publishing. And so that'll come out, I think, in time for Gen Con this summer. And that was a lot of fun. The first third of this year, I sort of cleared my schedule out because I'm teaching some classes for the Virginia G. Piper Center for Creative Writing at Arizona State University. And so I have to read student work, which is, so I cleared out. So I've done some short fiction and a few short stories. Going through the later part of this year, I've got a couple of short novels that I've got halfway done that I want to finish. And then I did, about 25 years ago, I did a fantasy novel called Italian Revenue. And I've wanted to do a sequel to it forever. And it looks like the latter half of this year is when I should be able to tackle that. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. But convention season, I teach a lot of how to write classes at conventions. And because I live in Phoenix, getting out of Phoenix as much as possible during the summer is a great benefit. So I spent a lot of the summer on the road.
Well, and this is a whole completely different topic, but Mike started this before either of us did, but Mike and me and Dave, we've all been moving to doing our own indie publishing of our own books because we've got our own fan base and we kind of know what we're doing in the publishing industry. And there are times that the publishing industry doesn't necessarily know what it's doing, especially with these changing times. And so we're like exploring all kinds of cool stuff and discovering, well, we're screwing up some things, but we're discovering some great things that we're doing on our own. And I'm more excited now about writing and publishing than I was 10, 15 years ago when I had so much work I couldn't handle. Now I've got even more work than I had before.
And I mean, some of these projects, some of the things that I'm looking at doing are very much along those lines. And they're trying to put together projects that I can enlist other writers like these guys to contribute so that we can all sort of reshape publishing. It used to be that books were easy to find because there were these things called bookstores. I don't know if you remember them. Usually now you can find them at Renaissance fairs. They're pretty much of that antiquity these days. The whole landscape has changed. So whether it's having a booth like they've got or I've got here at the show, where you're selling your own books or retailing them online or doing other projects to get your stuff noticed, all of a sudden this is stuff that we have to do that we never had to do before. And so it's a lot of hit or miss, as they were saying, but it's also incredibly exciting. And the nice thing is that you guys get to get books that other people never would have bought. There is not a single professional writer I know that does not have at least one novel sitting at home that they sent to their agent when they tried to get a New York publisher interested in, and New York said, no, this won't sell. And it's not because it's a bad book. It's not because you guys wouldn't love to read it. It's because they don't think it will sell enough. This is like a baseball team looking at baseball players and saying, sorry, you don't hit home runs every time you come to bat. Therefore, we don't want you. And so now we've got the means and the ability to get these things out. And again, I just absolutely love it. I mean, it's just fantastic.
We have time really quickly for two last questions. So,
First of all, Kevin, I just wanted to say that I think your explanation of this is the Ewok is brilliant. And as far as I'm concerned,
Let's make it like a viral explanation so we all know that's the truth.
Feral Ewoks. That's canon, and I'm going to tell my kids that. So that brings me to my next question is, have you or will you come up with something equally brilliant to explain the existence of Gungans?
Dave will.
Gungas. They are an advanced species of slime mold. They are actually born with brains, but as they detach from the egg sacs, they get sucked back into the egg sac, and therefore they walk around saying really stupid things and acting foolishly their entire lives.
Two of my favorite books from the early extended universe were Tales of the Bounty Hunters and Tales from John's Palace. How was it working with a large group of other authors to flesh out these backstories and create some, as was referenced earlier, some of that wonderful material that not everybody knows about for these origin stories and backstories of some of the characters we see in the movies?
It was like herding cats that were heavily caffeinated. And wet. Actually, it wasn't, the first one, it was Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. And there wasn't as large of a pool of established Star Wars authors to draw from. And Dave's in all three of those books that I did. And there were several people that are in the first book that are not in the second or third books, not because of their writing schedule. And this is it's a team sport. You have to play well with others. You have to cooperate with things. And especially Jabba's Palace, there was an overarching storyline that everybody sort of had to play with. And I worked with people that would play ball, and like Dave and Tim and most of the other writers that are in there. It was a lot of fun because we had this little background material, but these were great stories and great ways to put things together. And we loved those books, and then the special editions came out and screwed up all kinds of details because the special effects eradicated some of our stories. But they're still in print, they're still good ones.
okay, really quickly, last question.
I said yes.
Thank you.
So, really quickly, can you guys tell people where they can find you on the floor?
1628, it's a big table, we're right across from Adam Baldwin, all the signings, and Adam Baldwin was wearing a Rush Clockwork Angels t-shirt yesterday, and I wrote the Clockwork Angels novel, so we had to run over and give him a signed copy, and he geeked out, so Adam Baldwin geeking out when I'm giving the books.
Nice. And I'm with Kevin in 1628, regardless of what it says on the, in the book here. Also, I have some flyers up here. I have some writing courses that I teach. If any of you are interested in writing, find out about this.
And I'm in 2308, right next to Tracy Aikman. And over near the beer garden and Mexican food place.
Thank you very much.